really speak about her. She did make a difference, right? But I guess she was just following protocol, and then with her anxiety and depression, it really didn't help, and it drove her to suicide. Hello everyone, and welcome to another Wavelength. My name is Waveney. I'm your host today, and I'm a leadership coach. And if you're new around here, welcome to my show. This show aims to provide you with trends in leadership, things about work and your career, all aimed at helping you to be your best self and showing up that way so that you can make an impact and leave a legacy in this world. Now, are you ready to get on the same wavelength? Great. All right, so today's topic was really inspired from something that happened in the US early in January. And just to give you a little bit of a backstory and context on today's topic, I just want to read you a few things so that we can get into the meat of the topic and so you understand. But I must warn you that today's topic may be a little bit triggering. It may be a little bit emotional because of what we're about to discuss. And so as I share this, and if you need to go, if you get emotional, if it triggers something in you or brings up a memory or something, it's okay to pause the video and come back. All right, let's get into it. And so I want to read to you something. So today we're going to be speaking about Dr. Antoinette Candia Bailey. The topic is centered around her, and she was a black woman who worked at her alma mater, and that's Lincoln University. So she worked at a university, and she worked there as the VP for student affairs. And Lincoln University is a historically black university. So, those of you who maybe attend universities or follow, academics, those universities are a real big deal. Now, she started in May of last year, 2023, and she was terminated on January 3rd, 2024. So we're still in January, very fresh. You can read about it because the media has, there's a lot of articles and so forth on it. And how she died is she committed suicide, right? Really, really sad. Black woman. I read somewhere when I was doing my research that she would have made 50 this year, right? And that's a milestone birthday. She would have made 50 in March. Yeah, right? And so what drove her to that? Well, on the day she died, based on my research, she'd sent a letter to one of her close friends, and she'd copied in a letter an email that she'd sent to the president of the university. His name is John Mosley. And she'd also, based on my research, she had also sent him an email. And in that email, she cited the reason why she was doing what she was doing. She was citing mistreatment. So I've told you the day she sent an email, the day she died, she sent an email to the president. And in that email, she cited mistreatment, but she also said that she alleged that he had subjected her to months of harassment, bullying, and racial discrimination. And from my research, I pulled out a few pieces that it doesn't seem like the letter has been circulated in the media, but it seems like there were a few people who were privy to it. So this is part of what she told him. She said, "You intentionally harassed and bullied me and got satisfaction from sitting back to determine how you would ensure that I failed as an employee and a proud alumna." And it seems like she was a really wonderful person. It seems that she was very caring, very empathetic, but she was facing all these things at work, right? She was suffering from, based on my research, and I've been saying that all the time, so you know, she was suffering from anxiety and depression, and she had asked for medical leave that was denied. And so she was really trying to take care of her mental health. Now, in the US, I know that, you know, we are in the Caribbean and so forth, but in the US, there are various types of leaves that one could apply. The FMLA, you could apply under that for leave, and it's a host of different things, right? Now in the Caribbean, mental health is becoming a thing. You know, I could remember, and I'm diverging a bit, right? I could remember growing up, maybe you, depending on your age, you could remember growing up, you know, you would see persons in the community, they were not all, you know, mentally stable, and we would say, oh, that's a crazy person, and we would just kind of like, you know, terms like bipolar and so forth did not exist in our world growing up, and I'm sure you could identify with that. But, you know, in the US, which has advanced, they have certain leaves. And now in the Caribbean, you know, this is an important topic. People are speaking more about it. So this is a little piece that she wrote in the email to the president. She said, "Several times I asked for help. Your expectations, I asked for help. Your expectations and an improvement action plan, and you ignore my request." So it sounds as if, and based on what I read, they were saying she was not performing. So she's saying to her manager, listen, I asked for your help. I asked for what your expectations. I asked for an action plan. And, you know, when I read this, my heart broke, because here you have it, an employee, an educated woman, someone who cares about her career, someone most likely who was given feedback about her performance. She's saying, hey, give me an action plan. Let me know what your expectations are so I can meet that. And it was denied, you know, it was ignored. She said, and you ignore my requests, failing to respond to emails, or when I met you face to face, you danced around the topic. All this was documented, and people, I must tell you that you have to document stuff. You know, many of you know I have an HR background, and many times, you know, we fail not to document things. If you are having issues at work, if you are having some sort of challenge with your leader, with your manager, or even with another employee, you need to start documenting time and date. Just a quick, you pull up a quick Word document, and you can do that. Or if you don't trust, you know, you might be doing it on the company's PC or laptop. If you don't trust that, then get a notebook and write it down. Because I can tell you, and this is something that, you know, I've seen, it's not really, and it's not fair, right? It's not fair. This is something that I've seen, that when people progress, when leaders progress in their career, the higher up they go, it's almost as if it's more difficult to not terminate them, but they're not held as accountable as someone who's just starting out. And I can tell you that from an HR standpoint, things I've seen, in my view, they're not held that way, right? And so back to my topic, this is the reason why you might say, okay, Wave, why are you bringing this to the forefront? Why are we learning about this? I felt like this was so important to bring to the fore because one, we can identify with her. She's a black woman. She's educated. She is at the prime of her career. She was the VP of Student Affairs, the Vice President of Student Affairs. She's someone, and you can tell the fact that she asked for help. She was someone who cared about sorry, her performance. She cared about how she showed up at work. And if you're following the People's Brand on any platform, you know that you want, I speak about influential leadership, about being your best, about leaving a legacy and a mark, which I think that is what leaders are supposed to do. But how many times do we encounter situations like that? How many times do we encounter bosses or leaders that ignore our cry for help, right? Who treat us unfairly. We feel like we're being slighted. And granted, I have never, thank goodness, I have never experienced racism because, you know, we live in the Caribbean. I'm from the Caribbean. You know, right now I'm filming. I live within the Federation. I live on the island of St. Kitts, right? And I'm sure many of you may live on a Caribbean island and you may not have experienced it, right? You may not have experienced racism, right? But you may have experienced being in a position where you are putting out your best, you are trying, you are doing you are doing the most. You have been at a company, you love the company, you've been promoted, but you have a leader that is just not treating you well. They're harassing you, they're bullying you, they are displaying certain behaviors, and you can identify with that. And this is why I'm bringing it to the fore. And it's really sad that what happened to Dr. Bailey. She, you know, she lives to mourn her mom and her husband, and I think she has 2 stepdaughters. But even more so, this what happened has sparked such public outrage that the president was sent on paid leave. Yes, paid leave. Same thing I said to you, that leaders are not, the higher up you go, they're not held, the accountability factor, it's different, right? It's different. So he's on paid leave. I read some articles where people were saying he should not be on paid leave. There was a lot of protests on the campus, and people are talking about it. People are writing about it on LinkedIn. This is how I discovered it, and I felt like this was a topic that needed to be shared. And so what are the themes that I really want to bring out from this topic? There's so many, and I may even come back on another show and just pull out another angle that I want to go. But for now, I want to focus on 3 things that I want to share. So the first thing is, you make the decision of the type or kind of leader that you choose to be. You choose and want to be. You make the decision. It is an act of intention. It is this intentional. You know, many times people get caught up in the title. And my thing is, you cannot get caught up in just having the title of a leader. It does not work that way. You have the title, it gives you some power, but there's so much more behind it, because you have, as a leader, as a manager, whatever you want to call it, I don't make a differentiation between a manager and a leader. You know, there are theories and you know, different definitions out there. But if you have a manager title, I am speaking to you. I am speaking to you. So leaders have a responsibility to treat those in their charge with respect, and most importantly, empathy. Empathy. You have a responsibility. It's not about the title, and I just wanted to bring that. And that president, that man, he had a responsibility to treat Dr. Bailey with respect, to treat her her requests, you know, because she was suffering from anxiety and depression, and she wanted a mental health break. She wanted leave. She probably just said, you know, I just need a break. If I step away for a little bit, I just need a reset. I just need to recalibrate, and I need to come back. And that was denied. It's almost as if he was forcing her, right, to take that action. And you know, you might be sitting out there and you might be saying, why didn't she walk away? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can say what you want, but we have to be empathetic. We don't know the things that people have been through, right? We don't know their upbringing. We don't know their traumas. We don't know. So I've worked with people, right? I've worked with people that at the end of the day, work was their safe place. Coming to work was their safe place. And so as a leader, you and I have a responsibility to ensure that we treat people around us with respect, you know, and to treat them with empathy. And empathy is really, Brené Brown has a great illustration on this on YouTube, and I'll link it below in this YouTube video. But she had a great illustration about empathy. Empathy is really sitting with the person, is really understanding, you know, what it is like to be them. And so we have a responsibility, and I feel very passionate about it. You can probably tell you have a responsibility because you do not know. Every day, this is my next point, every day you interact with the people that you lead, right? Every day you make a decision about how you behave in that interaction. It is a decision. You know, it's a decision whether we say that thing, or even if we say something that is not right or may not have come across in the right manner, we can go back, we can apologize. We make the decision to be leaders. That is why, you know, I believe that there's some people that have natural leadership abilities. I believe that, right? But I also believe that you can create and you can develop into a leader, and one that leaves a legacy. And it is so important that you choose. It is a choice to show up. That is why it's about self-leadership. It is about knowing yourself first, knowing your triggers, knowing you, and then showing up to lead the people in your charge well. And this is where emotional intelligence comes in. I'm gonna go to my next point, but surely we see examples of companies and leaders, especially during the pandemic, that really didn't show empathy. Yes, you may have to lay off people, but it's how you do it. You may be working for a company and you may have to take certain decisions, right? You may be given certain directives, but it is really about how you choose to go about it. I work in HR. I'm still working at my 9 to 5. And yes, there are times when I have to, you know, terminate my coffee. The second theme I wanted to bring out is women are treated differently than men. I am sure had that been a man, I should say a male, and I shouldn't say a black man because there are undertones of racism. She did accusing of racism. So the outcome may be the same. And I don't want to touch the racism topic because I've not personally experienced it, but I can tell you from experience that women are treated differently. When you are a woman that is growing in your career, that have grown in your career, you will encounter people, males in particular, that try to shut you down. And I never realized it, sorry, I never realized it so much until I, got further on in my career, that women are treated differently. We are told, don't say this, or your tone. The police, they're the tone police. Oh, how you said this, Wave, how you said this, and you shouldn't say this like this. And tone policing is really about telling someone that you didn't like, you're ignoring what they said because you don't like the tone in which they said it. No, nobody, it's not happening to anybody else, sorry. It's not happening to anybody else, but it's happening to you. You are observing that, hey, well, Peter over there said this, or they did this behavior. And if you find yourself saying, well, okay, isn't anybody gonna say anything? Or, okay, if I had said that, what would have been the outcome? If you find yourself in any of these types of situations, or you're being pulled aside to say, hey, you got to watch your tone, and then they're policing your tone, right? And this is something that I didn't know there was a term for it, but I've experienced it. I've experienced it. So women are treated differently. We're treated differently because there are studies out there too. There are studies out there in compensation packages. Men are getting more in terms of compensation and benefits than a woman, and especially a black woman, right? And especially a black woman. And so it is true. So if you are experiencing or if you are feeling that, hey, I feel like I'm being treated differently, maybe it's me, it's not you, it's probably something that is happening. And I'll probably have another show, not probably, I will have another show on how to combat that. And then just overall behavior, dumbing you down, discarding your ideas. You may bring an idea to the forefront and it's just being pushed aside. You may feel like you don't want to speak in meetings, or you may be asked your opinion about something. You may be asked to work on something, and then what happens is your boss takes over, and like it's, when I say take over, then it's like, okay, all the work you've done gets pushed to the side and their idea is front and center. And it's different. Women are treated differently than men. And as a black Caribbean woman, I've experienced it. And I'm sure Dr. Bailey, she experienced that. She experienced the difference. I am sure if someone else had asked for time off, they would have been given that time off. They would have been given that time off. Whether it's another race, because she did cite racism, they would have been given time off. And these are the type of situations that occur in our environment. And this is, one of the many reasons I'm bringing it to the forefront, because you may think that, hey, she lives in America. Growing up in the Caribbean, for most of us, we're like, oh, America is this great place and the land of opportunities. And I do think it does have its opportunities, but also, people go through, especially people of our race, black people go through so much there, right? And you may think, wow, because I was like, oh my goodness, here's this woman that is going through this, right? And it did cross my mind. How come she didn't leave? Why didn't she leave? I wish she could have left, but we don't know that. And it's not my place, I'm not judging her. It's not my place to judge, because when you are suffering from anxiety and depression, that can be a very, very dark place. Which brings me to my third theme that I want to pull out of this topic. You and your mental health must be a priority. You must make your mental health a priority. Sometimes we feel like we can push through. I am so guilty of that. that, you know, I can do it all, that we invest so much time in the companies in which we work because we love what we do. We are passionate about it, but you have to take care of your mental health. I mean, in the end, Dr. Bailey did try. She did try and she was denied. And like I said, we may say, well, why didn't she? Right? I could tell that this lady, she was really, she cared about the university because she worked at other places. You can do your research. And she came back there and she did make a difference. For the students to protest, for people to really speak about her, you know, she did make a difference, right? But I guess she was just following protocol, and then, you know, with her anxiety and depression, it really didn't help and it drove her to suicide. Now, the point is she didn't leave, and so we've all stayed in situations and relationships, especially personal and intimate relationships, and at jobs that are toxic, and we have stayed longer than we should have. And each person is different, and in the Caribbean especially, you know, there isn't a lot of opportunities. Like when you land a very good job, you know, it's a big deal, it's a thing, and you may have loans, and may have commitments, and you may have children, and there's so many other things to consider. So walking away, I'm not a fan of telling people quit your job. You will never hear me say just quit your job. You will hear me say be strategic about it, have an exit strategy, have a plan of how you're going to move past this, right? And so we should have a plan. You have to prioritize your mental health. You have to, because companies will do what they have to do. That's the bottom line. They will do what they have to do. You have to prioritize you so you can show up as your best. And if this means leaving work early, or if this means looking at your task list. For example, I had a way I would write 10 things down that I wanted to accomplish in a day. It doesn't work like that, right? And I realized this was burning me out. So what you can do is look at what are the top 3 things, or even one thing that if you accomplish within that day would work well for you. That will help with your burnout. We are trying to do it all. And we can't do it all. We have to take care of ourselves. Factor in time for some me time, especially those of you who are parents. Now, I don't have kids, but your children need you as well, and they need you at your best. And so factor in time for your family, factor in time for your friends. You need that social interaction. Whatever you need to do, take care of your mental health. If it means that you need to speak to a therapist, if it means that you need to get some sort of help, you need to seek that help for yourself. You are the most important person in your world, and you are only as good as you are to you could only be as good to others as you are to yourself. You have got to take care of yourself first. And so these are just some themes that I wanted to highlight, that I kind of saw. It came up for me when I read, you know, about Dr. Bailey. And, you know, it's the thing about being treated differently. It's about us having a responsibility as leaders. You know, can you imagine that you are showing up every day, you are leading a team, and you are responsible. You learn that one of your team members died, the people that you lead died, and you've heard that you are solely responsible. You push them because you didn't know all of the other things that were going on in their lives, that what you said or what you did or what treatment you gave them, your behavior drove them to that. It's crazy. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that. And I think that it's something that we have to self-reflect on. Or even many times, okay, people may not company, it's the same thing. They leave the company because they absolutely cannot work with this person. Do you know how much it takes, or the point that you have to get to, as someone who takes pride in your work? I'm not talking about someone who's just being really overly emotional or anything like that, but do you know it has to take a lot for somebody to really love an organization, really love their work, really love what they do, for them to think about, strategize, and actively go out and seek another place to work because somebody was saying or doing something there that really they just could not. They just could not, and that's not healthy. And so we don't want to be that type of leader. We want to be the type of leaders that leave a legacy, that leave an impact, that people want to work with us. And if people move on, it's because they want to move on because of their development. And also, lastly, again, we want to take care of our mental health. It is important to take care of our mental health. Take care of you so that you can show up beautifully for the people that you lead and also for yourself. And so let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if this, this topic resonated with you. Share your thoughts, ideas, or concerns. And if you have any ideas for a topic that you want me to speak about on Wavelength, send them to me. I will be more than happy to review it and see how it fits in to the entire people brand experience and what I'm trying to do here. And share this out, share this show out to someone who needs to hear this message, to a work bestie, because we're all here to support each other, right? We're all here to support each other. So share it with a work bestie. And until next time, thank you so much for joining me on Wavelength. Bye.